Okay, so basically I've titled this Have You Got Questions? And this presentation is aimed at both yourselves and also your parents, if any of your parents are viewing with you. And so it'll just give you an idea of the journey and how I can support you through your journey here in Maynooth, and some questions that you might have, and put your mind at ease and where you can get information. Okay, so as I said, my name is Rose Donovan. I'm the academic advisor for the university, and these are my contact details for the Academic Advisory Office. It's advisory.office@mu.ie is the email for contacting us. And in terms of, we also have a web form on our webpage, and I'm currently working remotely, and I will be working remotely for the semester. So I can set up a Teams call with you or set up a phone call with you. And to do that, you just need to email me to set up that call. Okay. If you're looking for an appointment, I always suggest that you put in the email, the times and the days that you are available, and then it stops us having to go back and forward to, with emails. You just say, hi Rose, I'd like to set up an appointment, and these are the days and times I'm available, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it is, and I'll come back to you with the time. So how can we help you, or how can I help you as a student, or if there are parents listening or guardians, how can I help your son or daughter? So I can offer advice in relation to the course that you've chosen. Time management, the lectures, tutorials and labs are all things that you're going to have to attend over the course of the next 3 or 4 years, depending on the course that you've chosen. And it's very important to get your time management right from day one. It was easier to do that when you were a second level student, where you went into class from 9 till 3 or 9 to 4 daily. You had a certain number of hours at each class, and then you got specific homework. In university, if you don't do your study, if you don't hand up your homework or the assignments, no one is going to check up on you. So you are now responsible for your learning. So it's very, very important that you make sure you attend any lecture you're meant to attend the tutorials or any labs, particularly in the science and the languages. These all form part of your learning, and some of them are compulsory pieces that you must attend. So it's very, very important that you actually do that, okay? I can be your advocate or be their advocate for any parents, so if you have a question you don't particularly want to ask a lecturer, I can ask that question for you, or might even know the answer. And then during your time as a student, you might experience some difficulties, so I can help you through those difficulties. I can put you in contact with my colleagues in the student supports. I can be a link for you, and basically give you some advice on how to overcome those. When at the end of January and the end of May we have our written exams, I manage the Exam Result Information Centre. So I offer post-exam support in terms of what your choices are, what the options you have for having failed an exam, and literally what you can do next. At the end of February, early March, you will receive your provisional exam results, and the exam results, then the official university exam results, are only issued at the end of June. So the Exam Results Centre only operates at the end of June and at the beginning of September, after the results from the repeat exams have issued. So what do I do in the Exam Results Centre? We go through the implications of those results, the choices that you have, whether you have to repeat, whether you can do the repeats in August. And it's very important to remember that some exams are not available as a repeat exam. So if you failed it during your first year, you would then end up in a situation where you have to repeat the year. So it's basically what next and what the implications are on failing an exam. We go through that with you in the Exam Result Information Centre. If you decide that this course is not for you, you have to formally register. So it's very, very important to remember that once you have registered, during the registration process now, the pre-registration that you're going through, and the registration process next week, where you will be in the library and on campus for the half day, it's very, very important that once you've done that, if you decide to leave the university, you must do so through the formal deregistration process. And that means that you must complete a deferral form, and or if you plan on coming back, or a deregistration form if you're not coming back. And then part of that will be that you will receive a link to an exit interview, and when you have submitted the exit interview, your full deregistration process is complete. So it's very, very important that if you do decide to leave, that just because you're not attending, we don't know that in the university, so you must notify us, because it can have fee implications going forward. So what will you hear? So these are some of the words that you will hear, or what if you are a parent, you will hear absolutely nothing. So that's a comfort for any of you students who are listening to me. So your parents will not be told anything. Our relationship is with you, the student. And questions can be answered generically from an academic advisor's perspective, but I cannot say if Johnny or Mary is attending class. I cannot say what marks Johnny or Mary can, but I can say what the implications are if a student doesn't attend class, but I cannot confirm whether you are or you aren't. And in fact, I don't even know that, because not all classes have class attendance, and it's only where there's an attendance requirement needed for the module that an attendance is kept, and that's only kept within the department. Okay. So these are the terms you're going to hear, things like orientation, which is next week. We sometimes have expos on campus where we have pop-up stands, information stands, the student services, the students union, ourselves, the program advisory office, the international office, the different offices will have pop-up stands, and we sometimes refer to them as expos. What you call the term and second level is now referred to as a semester. Moodle is our learning environment, and this is where you're going to get all of the information in relation to your modules and what the courses that you're studying. So it's our online learning environment. And then some departments use Turnitin as a software that you must submit your assignments or your work through Turnitin before you submit it to the department, and that Turnitin checks for plagiarism. So the module is what the subject is broken into. So most subjects are broken into 2 modules, and modules can be classified as either a compulsory module, a compulsory and required, or an elective. A compulsory module is a module that you must register for, and the system will have automatically chosen that module for you. And in first year, practically all modules are compulsory. A required module is a module that you can only pass by achieving a minimum 40% and has several components to the module. For example, in the languages, there are required modules, and you must pass, 3 of the 4, whether it be your oral, your oral, your grammar, or your written exam. And this information is all available on the module descriptor on Course Finder. It will be available in the departmental handbook, and the lecturers will say to you at the first lecture in 2 weeks' time, from Monday the 27th. So that's a required module. And an elective module is a module that you will be able to choose as you progress in your degree in second year. Not all courses have electives. The majority of them have. They're available on a first come, first served basis. And then if you decide to do an elective, it cannot then clash with your other subjects or your compulsory modules for your subject. But that's something that we'll talk about towards the end of the second semester. The Programme Advisory Office will have information sessions about that. LIST is our library information skills tutorials, and it's about small tutorials about how to write an essay, how to find a book, how to do some research, how to do bibliography. All of those, there's different things that will be available. We have the different support centres in terms of writing centre and the math support. And then we have a subject called critical skills, which is one of the subjects that's available only in first year. And if you decide to do this, what it does, it's going to prepare you and give you transferable skills that you can use across all of your subjects and all of basically your work career and your personal life. Things like essay writing, presentations, working together in groups, doing some research. So there's different aspects to critical skills, and the critical skills are always taught in small classes. There's 25 students max in a class. And you be with those 25 students for the 12 weeks or the 11 weeks of the semester. Continuous assessment. So again, continuous assessment is how a module can be assessed 100% by continuous assessment, or even a percentage like 10 or 20%. And that continuous assessment can be marks maybe just your attendance at the tutorial or your participation in the tutorial. So it's very, very important that you familiarize yourself with how much, if any, continuous assessment is in your module. And some modules then that are 100% assessed by continuous assessment are not available as an option to repeat in the August supplemental. So if you don't do the work during the year, it then means that you will be looking at having to repeat the following year, you know, doing whatever, registering for whatever modules it is that you haven't passed. And again, I've already said that this information about the module is available in the departmental handbook as well as on Course Finder. We refer to tutorials also as seminars. Some departments will call them seminars. And program choices, for those of you who are with me on the Program Advisory Office, they are the choices that you have within your program. And the program choices, Program Advisory Office will advise you of those choices. So these are just some of the terms that you'll hear over the course of the next couple of weeks. So these are some dates you need to be aware of. So deregistration. If you decide that you don't want to stay in this course, that it's not for you, or for whatever reason, if you've made a SUSI grant application and you get word from SUSI that you're not eligible, you know, but there's a possibility you'll be eligible next year. If you decide to deregister by the 31st of October, you then means that there's no fee implication, and you can come back to Maynooth or any other third level next year without any fee implication. If you leave the university between the 1st of November and the 31st of January, when you return, you would then become liable for half of the tuition fee costs, plus the contribution charge cost and the student levy. So it's very, very important to keep these two dates in mind. If you left after the 1st of January, so if you come into the office, you know, to defer on the 1st of February, when you return, you then become liable for the full cost of your course. And the cost of an arts course, the full cost is just under €6,000. The cost of a science course is €7,500. And you might be paying €3,150, which is the contribution charge and your student levy. Or you might be just paying €150 because you have an entitlement to SUSI, and they would pay the €3,000. So it's very, very important to remember these dates. If you're not happy in your course, if for some reason you can't continue, whether it be illness or financially, bear these dates in mind and make sure that if if any of these reasons happen, that you deregister, because if you drop out and don't deregister formally, when you come back, you will be hit with a large bill, whether it's ourselves or any other university, because you're all linked through the system through your PPS number. Okay, the 22nd of October is the first date by which you can change subjects. So you've got 4 weeks to choose your subjects in first year. I always say try and choose your subjects within the first 2 weeks, because if you wait to week 3 and week 4, you will already have missed some lectures and you'll be on it playing catch up. So it's very, very important that you try and bed down your subjects, week 2, but the system will allow you make changes up until the 22nd of October. And when you progress into the second semester, there are some changes permitted, very, very limited changes to first year students. And again, we will offer information sessions from the Programme Advisory Office perspective to you before Christmas and in January about the process of changing for the second semester. And when you progress into second year, then it's always, you have 2 weeks to change your modules within the second semester in second year as well. So the 22nd of October is the first date that you must have made your choice by, and the 11th of February, there will be limited change to you in the 11th of February, and that change is all managed by the Programme Advisory Office. Consultation Day is a date that will be set and will be available on the Exams Office webpage, and the date will be late June or early to mid-September of the next year of 2022. And this date is a date that the academic staff are available to meet with you and discuss your results. So it's a very, very important day. If you failed results, failed your modules or failed your exams, that you engage in this day and talk to the lecturers and get feedback on your modules, so you understand where you've made your mistakes. And for me, if you do this in June and you're registering for the repeat exams and the supplemental exams in August, it's the first day of revision, because you now have definitive answers as to where you actually went wrong and why you've actually failed the module. So that date will be available on the Exams Office webpage in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So what do you as a student need to do, or what does your son or daughter need to do? I call this a common sense slide. So you need to attend all your lectures, tutorials, labs and seminars. As I said earlier, you will get marks for attending some of the lectures, tutorials and the labs and tutorials and seminars. So it's very, very important, if there's a minimum attendance required, you meet that minimum attendance so that you don't fail the module just on that. You need to submit all your work, submit your assignments, continuous assessment pieces, lab reports, essays, whatever the department asks you to submit, whether it's a project or a piece on a project, if it's a summary of an essay, a summary of a chapter in a book, you submit that work. If you have a question, you should always ask the question. It's so important to ask questions, and always remember there's no such thing as a silly question. Every question is valid. If you have a question, ask it. It's so important that you do that. If you've missed handing in a piece of work for some reason, so for example, if you were sick and you have a doctor's note and you didn't hand in your work, or if you ended up in the in the hospital the night before an exam and had a medical cert, let the departments know. Don't just not submit the work. Submit the work. Some departments have what we call extenuating circumstance forms. So you can submit it, and I always say it's far better to get some mark for a piece of work than to not submit it and not get any marks at all. So if you've missed it for whatever reason, whether it's illness or something going on in your family, let the departments know and submit it. Submit it late and have a penalty rather than not submitting it at all. Know the people that you need to know in the university. So for you who are coming in through the Access office, know your Access support workers. Know the names of the admins in each of the academic departments, and know your lecturers' names. And for your lecturers' names, give them the title. If they will say to you whether they want to be called doctor or professor, so give them the respect and let them, call them by their title. And, if you're contacting them through email, don't start an email with, hey, ho, hi. You go, dear doctor, dear professor, dear miss or dear mrs, whoever, dear mister. Don't just be informal, be professional and be formal in how you communicate with the academic staff and the admin staff as well. So more of what you need to do. So you need to get the balance right in terms of your study, your recreation and part-time work. It's very, very important, and this is where normally when I'm in the lecture hall delivering this lecture, it's the one time I know people are actually listening, because the heads might be buried in phones, but then suddenly they rise when I say you need to have at least 25 to 30 hours a week study in first year to even manage it, or the bare minimum that's required of you. So if you treat this like a job from Monday to Friday, 9 to 6, if you're an art student, you can actually get most of your work done, during that time in terms of your study and your readings, and you can be doing your essays, and then that allows you your time in the evenings or the weekends for a part-time job or for your recreation purposes. It's very important you eat properly, particularly those of you who've moved away from home for the first time, and those of you who are lucky enough to have secured accommodation. It may be your first time looking after yourself in terms of eating and cooking meals or whatever. So make sure that you're not living just in the Chippers or the Chinese or the pizzeria. Do proper meals for yourself. Get adequate rest. It's so important, because if you can't function as a human because you haven't got adequate rest, you're not going to function as a student or academically. So it's very, very important that you do get that adequate rest as you go through. Just because you've moved away from home and nobody's there to tell you to go to bed or nobody's there to tell you to get up, it's equally important to get up and attend your lectures that you should be attending, but it's also important to get a good night's sleep and be able to do that and apply yourself. Avoid excessive alcohol, straightforward. Avoid substance abuse, it's illegal. And familiarise yourself with the departmental handbook, with the departmental office hours when they're available, and the academics consultation hours. So that the academics consultation hours are hours that the academics make themselves available each week for students to ask questions, or when they are in their offices, you can normally come to the office, but with COVID, you should just arrange a Teams meeting with them, or check with them, how they want to meet you, whether it's a phone call or Teams. Most staff are actually doing Teams calls. I'll say it again, if you have a question, always ask it, okay? And use your university email account for correspondence with the university. Me and the academic advisory, I will reply to Gmail accounts once they're appropriate Gmail accounts. I've seen some nice Gmail accounts or not so nice Gmail accounts names in my time, but I will reply to your personal accounts. But if you're sending an email to any of the offices, the supports, any of the departments, always do so from your university email account, and always include your student number. None of us are unique, and there's several Rose Donovan students in the university, just like there's several Rose names of the staff. So it's very, very important. Email us from your university email account and always include your student number. Okay. So in summary for you, it's going to take time to adjust. This is a huge transition, particularly, from the leaving cert that you've had, the last 18 months that you've had studying online, and it's going to take time to adjust. You're not going to know where everything is, who everybody is, what you're supposed to be doing. So give yourself, don't be anxious, or don't let anxiety take over. So give yourself some time to settle in. And if you are living in campus or living in Maynooth, I would say walk around the buildings when you get your timetable, walk around the campus at the weekends, and just become familiar with the buildings and after you've done the campus tour. Always attend everything, but also make sure you're enjoying the subject, because if you're not enjoying the subject, then perhaps you should be changing that within that time frame that you can change, and enjoy making new friends, enjoy the social aspect of it, enjoy joining the clubs and societies. You don't have to be staying at home and stuck in a book the whole time, but you should always stay safe, and that's the important thing. Stay safe I know we're all sick of hearing it, but it's so important to actually stay safe and look after yourselves and look after your friends. Use the support services. That's what we are here for. We are here to help you achieve your full potential on this academic journey. There, I'm saying it again, ask questions. My philosophy in my working life is that the day I don't ask a question is a day that I need to look back at, because I don't know the answers to everything. And, I should always say I should always ask questions. And I do. Anybody who knows me will tell you I'm always asking questions. And for any parents who's viewing this or looking in on this, know that your son or your daughter is in a safe environment, and you as the students will know that you are in a safe environment, and we will provide the necessary support to help you overcome the difficulty that you might have in that transition to life. We have our counselling service, we have our chaplaincy service, and they all provide, mindfulness, yoga, all things that will help you bring it back to your inner self, and keep you calm, help you with some breathing exercises, help you deal with the anxiety, because it can be an anxious time, making this change. And then if some of you are moving away from home for the first time, that in itself, or even some of you who are just going to have to get up in the morning and get on a train or on a bus and commute to campus, and never, whereas previously you might have walked down the road or cycled down the road or got dropped off down the road at your last school. So it's going to take time. Download the MS Teams apps. That's, we communicate with you through the calendar, through the chat function, through the Teams calls. So it's very, very important to download the app and keep yourself up to date on what is happening in terms of the coronavirus. And we have a page dedicated to the students on the COVID-19 information page on the front page of the university website. So thank you for listening. And I'm just going to show the slides now in terms of the slides. Some of you may have seen these already. It's the 1916 bursary. It's open for applications, I think, or will be open in the next couple of days. And if your household income doesn't exceed 24,500, if you belong to one of the target groups, or you're a first-time applicant to full-time or part-time education, you may be eligible to apply for this, and it's worth 5,000 per year of your undergraduate study. So it's very, very worthwhile bursary. Might take a little bit of time to do the application, but it is so worth doing if you're the lucky people to be awarded this bursary. These are some of the support services that are available. We have our Maths Support Centre. You will have your math academic advisor assigned to you. We have our library, which is just full of books, full of information, and full of very valuable staff who will help you with each of the subjects. We have our student budgeting office. We have our writing support centre and Student Central for those of you who are linked in with the Access office. And we have a laptop loan for those of you who haven't got a laptop. We have a laptop loan. There's more information again through the Access office, and the Technology Transition Programme. So it's group training sessions that were available throughout September to help you prepare for the online academic environment here in Maynooth University.